HOA put 29 lake cabins on my private island. I let them finish, then pulled out the deed in court. You ever been so patient that people thought you were powerless? My HOA made that mistake. They built 29 lake cabins on my private island. I didn't argue. I didn't stop them. I just watched quietly every single day because I knew exactly what I'd do once they finished. My name's Jack Miller, 42 years old, a brown-bearded man with blue eyes, usually in my worn plaid shirt and boots. I live by a quiet lake my father once called the Soul's Mirror. Right in the center of that lake sits a small island, our family's pride, privately deeded since 1958. My dad built a single wooden cabin there, and before he passed, he told me, "Son, never let anyone take this place from you." Across the lake is the Maplewood Lakeside community, ruled by a homeowners association, the kind that loves rules more than reason. Their new president, Karen Dalton, a woman in her 50s with a perfect smile and a clipboard that never leaves her hand, decided my island was part of their community property. When I told her it was private land, she laughed and said, "Oh, Jack, you can't own an island." That's when I went silent. The next week, I woke up to the sound of engines and hammering across the water. At first, I thought it was just another lakeside renovation, but when I looked through my binoculars, I couldn't believe it. Barges were unloading lumber, steel, and cement right onto my island. I took my small boat over and found construction crews setting up camp. One of them pointed to a sign that read, "Maplewood HOA Lake Cabins, coming soon." Karen stood there, arms crossed, clipboard in hand, giving out orders like a general. I called out, "Karen, you can't build here. This is private land." She didn't even turn around. "Relax, Jack," she said. "This whole lake belongs to the community. You'll thank us when it's done." That night, I sat by my window watching the island glow with floodlights. My peaceful lake now looked like a construction zone, but instead of losing my temper, I opened my old filing cabinet and pulled out my father's documents. Title deeds, maps, tax receipts, everything. The next morning, I met with a property lawyer named Ethan Ross, a calm man with gray hair and a sharp memory for law. After looking through my papers, he leaned back and said, "Jack, let them build. Every nail they hammer becomes evidence. The longer they go, the stronger your case gets." So that's exactly what I did. I filmed drone footage every week, kept receipts, and even saved HOA newsletters bragging about their new lakeside resort. The more they built, the more confident they became, and the quieter I got, the more power I held. 6 months later, the once silent island looked nothing like home. Rows of wooden cabins stood proudly along the shoreline, each one painted in cheerful colors, decorated with picnic tables and lanterns. The HOA called it their crown jewel. They even threw an opening party, music, fireworks, and champagne echoing across the lake. I sat in my small fishing boat, watching from a distance. My father's cabin, the one he built with his hands, was now surrounded by rental cabins filled with strangers. The next morning, I received an envelope from the HOA, a maintenance fee notice for the community's island facilities. I couldn't help but laugh. They were charging me for using my own land. That was the moment I knew it was time. I drove straight to my lawyer's office, placed the letter on his desk, and said, "Ethan, it's showtime." Within a week, we filed a property rights lawsuit backed with every piece of evidence: the original 1958 deed, recorded maps, drone footage, and HOA newsletters using my GPS coordinates. When the HOA got served, Karen still smirked. "Jack's bluffing," she told her board. "That island's ours." What she didn't realize was that the county courthouse was about to prove her wrong in front of everyone. The courtroom was packed that morning. HOA members sat whispering behind Karen, who looked as confident as ever, clipboard in hand, pearls perfectly lined, not a hint of worry on her face. I sat in the front row beside my lawyer, Ethan, calm, silent, ready. The judge began by reviewing our documents. Ethan presented the original deed, crisp, yellowed paper signed by the county registrar in 1958, showing the island legally owned by Harold Miller, my father. My name, Jack Miller, listed as successor. The judge looked up. "Do you have proof the HOA received permission to build on this land?" he asked the defense. Their attorney hesitated. "We believed it was community property, Your Honor." Ethan stood and played the drone footage, frame by frame, showing the HOA's barges, machinery, and cabins rising over time. Then he showed the HOA's own newsletter, boasting about our island resort expansion. The judge raised an eyebrow. "So
You not only built on private property, you advertised it? Karen's face turned pale. Ethan smiled slightly and said, Your Honor, our client isn't here for revenge. He's here for restoration. But under state law, unauthorized development on private property carries full financial liability. The courtroom went dead silent. The judge leaned forward and spoke firmly. This court orders Maplewood HOA to remove all 29 cabins, restore the land to its original condition, and compensate Mr. Miller for damages, totaling $3.2 million. Karen gasped. HOA members erupted in shock. Some turned to her, furious. I just sat there breathing slowly. Months of patience finally paid off. When reporters approached me outside the courthouse, one of them asked, Mr. Miller, why didn't you stop them sooner? I smiled and said, because sometimes the best way to teach a lesson is to let them finish first. That quote made the evening news headline. And for once, the HOA had no rule to hide behind. Months passed before the island was finally cleared. The HOA had no choice. Every cabin was dismantled, every dock removed, and every tree replanted under court supervision. What once looked like a luxury resort now returned to quiet nature, the same way my father left it.
Karen resigned shortly after. Rumor was half the HOA board turned against her for embarrassing the community. I didn't celebrate. I just stood on my dock one early morning, coffee in hand, watching the mist rise over the lake. For the first time in years, it was silent again. No saws, no engines, just peace. I took a small plaque and nailed it beside my father's cabin. It read, Miller Island, owned, protected, forever. Every time a boat passes, people slow down, some point whispering, that's the guy who owned the HOA island. I smile every time I hear it, not out of pride, but out of respect for patience. Because my dad was right. You don't protect something by fighting over it. You protect it by standing firm quietly until truth speaks for itself. Sometimes silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. The louder someone insists they're right, the quieter truth needs to be. Because truth doesn't shout, it proves. Jack didn't fight back with anger. He waited, gathered proof, and when the moment came, one document changed everything. So next time someone tries to take what's yours, remember, patience isn't losing, it's loading. And when the time is right, truth always speaks louder than noise. What would you have done if your HOA tried this? Drop your thoughts in the comments and hit like if you believe patience always wins.